Something changed at Dollar Tree over the past few weeks, and if you haven't been to a store recently, you genuinely have no idea what's currently sitting on the clearance shelves. An entire wave of products got marked down, some of them by more than half off, and by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly why this happened and which 10 items you need to grab before this window closes. Number 7 on this list is the one that actually made me go back to the store a second time just to buy more. If you're new here, this channel breaks down what's actually worth buying at Dollar Tree, what to avoid, and what's really going on behind the scenes. So if that sounds useful to you, go ahead and hit subscribe before we get into it, because clearance waves like this one don't last long, and I want you seeing the next one the moment it happens. Before we get into the list, let's talk about what actually caused this. Dollar Tree has been quietly restructuring parts of its store layout over the past several months, pushing more items into the $3, $4, and $5 price tiers, while trying to keep the core $25 section focused on faster-moving basics. When a retailer does a shift like that, it means certain products that don't fit neatly into either category anymore have to go, and instead of shipping them back to a warehouse, the fastest and cheapest option is almost always to clear them out at a steep discount right there on the shelf. That's exactly what's been happening, and it's why so many stores right now have random, deeply discounted items scattered in ways that don't match the usual seasonal clearance pattern you're used to seeing. This kind of restructuring happens periodically at every major retailer, but it tends to get more noticeable when a company is actively expanding into new price tiers, the way Dollar Tree has been. Every new price tier that gets added means the buyers have to make room somewhere else in the budget and on the shelf, and the easiest way to free up both is to clear out whatever's sitting closest to the edge of the old pricing structure. That's a big part of why this particular wave of clearance feels so widespread across so many different categories at once, rather than being limited to one or two departments the way a normal seasonal clearance usually is. This isn't the first time something like this has happened either. If you've been shopping at Dollar Tree for a while, you might remember similar scattered clearance waves happening when the store first introduced items above the traditional dollar price point a few years back. Each time the pricing structure shifts even slightly, a similar pattern tends to repeat. Older stock gets marked down aggressively to make room, newer stock comes in at the adjusted pricing, and within a month or two the shelves settle back into a normal rhythm until the next adjustment happens. Recognizing that pattern now means you'll likely be able to spot the next one even faster than this one. One more thing before we start. This isn't the kind of clearance that gets restocked once it's gone. Once these specific batches sell through, they're not coming back at this price, and in some cases, they're not coming back at all. So if something on this list is genuinely useful to you, this is the moment to grab it, not next week. All right, let's get into it. Number 1. The oversized ceramic serving platters. These used to sit in the $3 tier, but they're showing up marked down to $1.25 in a lot of locations right now. Serving platters are seasonal adjacent, meaning demand spikes around the holidays and drops off hard the rest of the year, and it looks like corporate decided to clear out remaining holiday season stock rather than hold on to it until next winter. If you host dinners or need something for a potluck, this is one of the biggest single-item discounts on the entire list, and platters like this rarely drop below the $3 mark even during a normal seasonal clearance, which makes this particular markdown stand out as unusually deep. Number 2. The insulated casserole carriers with the zippered lid. This one used to run around $5, and I'm seeing it marked down to $2 in the stores I've checked. Casserole carriers are a niche item that doesn't sell consistently year-round, which makes them an easy target when a store is trying to free up shelf space for faster-moving products. If you bring dishes to potlucks or family gatherings regularly, this is a genuinely useful grab at less than half the original price, and the zippered lid design specifically has been a strong seller wherever it's shown up, which makes it a little surprising to see it cleared out this aggressively rather than simply reordered again. Number 3. The decorative wall clocks. These were sitting in the $4 tier for months, and they're now showing up marked down to $1.25 in the home decor clearance section. Wall clocks are one of those categories that gets reset seasonally as new decor lines come in, and when a new shipment of clocks is on the way, the old design has to clear out fast to make room. If you've been meaning to update a room, this is about as cheap as a decent-looking wall clock gets anywhere, and once this specific batch clears the shelf, the replacement design coming in typically lands back at the regular $4 price point, so this window really is temporary. Number 4. The multi-tier metal plant stands. Originally priced around $6, these are turning up marked down to $2.50 in a lot of garden and seasonal sections right now. Metal plant stands are heavy, they take up a lot of shelf space, and once the spring planting rush slows down, stores need that space back for the next seasonal rotation. If you've been wanting to set up a little plant corner, this is the cheapest this item is realistically going to get, especially considering the metal construction, since a comparable stand at a garden center or big box store typically starts well above $10. Number 5. The set of insulated grocery tote bags. These were priced at $3 each, and they're now clearing out at $1.25 in stores that are resetting their reusable bag section. Insulated totes are useful, but not something people buy often, which makes them a slower mover that's easy to cut when a store needs to simplify a category. If you do a lot of grocery runs, grabbing a couple of these while they're this cheap is a smart, practical move, especially heading into warmer months when keeping frozen and cold items insulated on the drive home actually matters. Number 6. The ceramic utensil holders shaped like little houses and cottages. These novelty kitchen pieces were sitting at $4 and they're clearing out at $1.25 right now because the entire novelty kitchen decor line is being phased out to make room for a new design set arriving for the next season. Once a specific novelty design gets discontinued like this, it typically doesn't come back, which makes this one of the more collectible clearance finds on the list if you like this particular style. And I've already seen a few people online mentioning they picked up multiples specifically because they know this exact design won't be restocked once it's gone. And number 7, the one that had me going back for more, the heavy glass beverage dispensers with the spigot. These were originally priced at $8, which is already a great price for a glass dispenser with a working spigot, and they're now clearing out at $3 in the stores I've checked. Glass dispensers are bulky, they're expensive to ship because of the weight and breakage risk, and it looks like the store is clearing remaining stock rather than reordering the same design for the next season. At $3, this is genuinely one of the best price-to-value ratios I've seen on this entire list, and it's exactly why I went back for a second one, because a working spigot dispenser like this normally runs $8 to $12 even at a big box retailer, and finding one at $3 with zero functional difference is hard to walk past twice. Number 8. The woven laundry hampers with the fold-down lid. These sat at $5 for a long stretch, and they're now marked down to $2 as the home organization section resets for the upcoming season. Laundry hampers are a steady seller, but when a specific design gets replaced by a newer one, the older stock has to move fast, and that's exactly the pattern happening here, which also explains why you might see two slightly different hamper designs sitting side by side at different prices during this transition period. Number 9. The set of cast aluminum outdoor lanterns. These were priced around $6 each, and they're clearing out at $2.50 as the outdoor and patio section transitions into its next seasonal lineup. Outdoor decor turns over fast because it's so tightly tied to the calendar, and once a store starts bringing in new patio stock, the old lanterns have to clear the shelf to make physical room, regardless of how well they were actually selling, which is honestly one of the more frustrating parts of retail clearance for shoppers, since a genuinely good product can get discounted purely because of a shelf space deadline rather than poor sales. And number 10, closing out the list. The oversized microfiber cleaning cloths sold in bulk packs. These were sitting at $3 for a 12-pack, and they're now clearing out at $1.25 as the cleaning supplies section gets reorganized to make room for a new private label cleaning line rolling out nationwide. This is one of the more practical grabs on the entire list, since cleaning cloths never really go out of style, and a 12-pack at this price is hard to beat anywhere, especially once the new private label version rolls out fully, and this exact pack disappears from shelves for good. So here's the bigger picture behind everything happening on shelves right now. Clearance events like this aren't random, and they're almost never really about the product being bad or unpopular. They're about a retailer reorganizing shelf space, testing a new price tier structure, or clearing the way for a new seasonal or private label lineup. When corporate makes a decision like that, individual stores don't get to choose whether to participate, they just get instructions to clear a category by a certain date, and the fastest way to do that is a steep, immediate markdown rather than a slow, gradual discount over several months. This also explains why the clearance you're seeing right now feels more scattered than a typical end-of-season sale. A normal seasonal clearance usually follows a predictable pattern: holiday items in January, garden items in late summer, and so on. What's happening right now cuts across multiple categories at once: home decor, kitchen items, outdoor products, and cleaning supplies, all showing up marked down in the same general window. That kind of cross-category clearance almost always points to a bigger structural change happening behind the scenes, not just a normal seasonal reset, which lines up with what's been reported about the ongoing price tier restructuring happening across the chain. It's also worth pointing out that not every store is at the same stage of this reset. Some locations rolled out these markdowns weeks ago and are already restocking with newer, higher-tier merchandise, while other stores are only just starting to mark things down now. If your local store doesn't have much on this list yet, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not coming. It likely just means your specific location is a little further behind in the rollout schedule than some of the stores where these markdowns already started. It's also worth understanding why these markdowns move so fast once they start. Once an item gets flagged for clearance in the system, individual store managers typically have a deadline to clear that inventory, sometimes as short as a few weeks. If it hasn't sold through by that deadline, it often gets pulled entirely and sent to liquidation, rather than staying on the shelf indefinitely at the lower price. That's exactly why waiting even a week or two after finding something like this can mean it's completely gone by your next visit, either sold out by other shoppers or pulled from the floor because the clearance window closed. So what should you actually do with this information? First, if you see anything on this list at your local store, don't wait. These items are moving fast, specifically because more people are starting to notice this pattern, and clearance sections like this typically get picked through within days once word starts spreading. If you spot even one or two items from this list still on the shelf, treat that as a strong sign the rest of the clearance wave probably hasn't been fully picked over yet either, so it's worth walking the rest of the store before you leave. Second, check your store more than once over the next couple of weeks, because clearance batches often get restocked in smaller waves as more inventory gets flagged and moved out of the back room, meaning a second trip could reveal items that weren't out on your first visit. A lot of shoppers assume a clearance section is a one-time event, but in reality, employees are often still finding additional stock to mark down over several visits, especially in a bigger structural reset like this one. So checking back is genuinely worth the extra trip. And third, Pay attention to which categories are clearing out the fastest at your specific store, because that tells you which section is being restructured next, and that's usually a preview of where the next wave of markdowns is coming from. If you notice the kitchen section looking unusually picked over or restocked with new packaging, that's often a sign the next round of clearance activity is about to hit that same area, and getting there early gives you first pick before everyone else catches on. A fourth tip worth mentioning is to actually ask an employee if you're unsure whether something is part of this clearance wave or just a normal price. Store employees usually know exactly which sections are being reset, even before it's obvious from the shelf tags alone, and a quick, friendly question can save you a wasted trip or point you toward a section you hadn't thought to check. Once you start paying attention to clearance patterns like this, you start noticing them everywhere, not just at Dollar Tree. Every retailer goes through these structural shifts periodically, and the shoppers who benefit the most are the ones who recognize what's happening early, rather than assuming a markdown is random or temporary. This particular wave looks like it's tied to a genuine shift in how the store is organizing its pricing going forward, which means it's worth paying close attention to over the next month or two, not just this single trip. It's also a good reminder that not every good deal announces itself clearly. Most people walk past a clearance shelf without giving it a second look, assuming it's just leftover junk nobody wanted. But as this list shows, a good chunk of what ends up marked down has nothing to do with quality and everything to do with timing, shelf space, and internal restructuring that has nothing to do with whether the product itself was actually worth buying in the first place. Once you start looking at clearance shelves through that lens, instead of assuming they're full of rejects, you'll probably start finding things you would have completely walked past before. If you found this breakdown helpful, let me know in the comments which one of these 10 you're grabbing first, because for me it's easily the glass beverage dispenser. That price drop from $8 to $3 is honestly one of the best single markdowns I've seen on this channel in a while. If your store has this same clearance wave happening, drop a comment letting me know what else you're seeing marked down, because I know this list isn't going to be exactly identical everywhere, and I genuinely love to see what other locations are clearing out right now that didn't make it into this particular video. Make sure you're subscribed so you catch it the moment the next clearance wave hits, because based on how fast this one moved, I don't think it'll be long before the next one shows up. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.